So let's talk about Naked right now, all right? So Netflix got a next big movie coming out, right? It's with Marlon Wayans getting out of the studio system, going straight to Netflix because, this is what comedians do these days. They're going straight to Netflix like Sandler and Schumer. So let's just throw Marlon Wayans in that son bitch because why not? The great comedians are all coming to Netflix. So let's talk about this thing right now. Let's just get right into this shit. This thing is based off a Swedish film, right? This is an adaptation of a Swedish film from Marlon Wayans. So Americans adapting a foreign film, sometimes that doesn't really work out that well, but an adaptation from Marlon Wayans, that could be a big fucking disaster. So is it? Is it not? What is the fucking deal? So let's talk about this thing right now. This is a clusterfuck, right? This thing is fucking just bland as fuck. This thing is honestly just one of the most boring movies I've seen probably in August so far, and probably all summer just to begin with. And that's saying something, because there's a couple of snooze fest kind of, honestly, that's been coming out just recently. So let's talk about this thing right now. The problem, I think, with Naked is just very much in the details of the title and the teaser trailer, whatever it may be. This thing is just a one joke, one premise type of thing that anything revolving around some sort of comedy is just pretty much dealing with just the lowest common denominator of humor, and that's just basically him being nude. I mean, like, legitimately. This movie, honestly, is just like if somebody came into a meeting and they pitched an idea on Shark Tank, and then they was just like, hey, I got this great idea. Great. So how do you want to elaborate on that idea? Oh, I don't. I just had the idea. You guys can kind of make it up as you go along. That's basically what this movie is. It's just an idea never really elaborated on. The movie is not as funny as they think the premise actually could be. And unfortunately, that kind of makes the movie feel very dragged out and just overall boring. The movie feels repetitive, which is a bit ironic because obviously there's a time loop. And one of the most creative things I think this movie actually really does do is actually kind of the transitions from the time loop when like the bell drops and whatever it may be when it transitions. Now, if that's one of the best parts of the movie, then obviously that's a big problem. Talking about the transitions of time. That's the best parts of the film. That's a very sad thing, especially because this movie is a comedy that doesn't really have any laughs at all. This thing, like I said, it's an hour and 36 minutes. It feels like 2 hours and 15 minutes because it's just overall, there's nothing moving the story forward. It's just the elevator stuff. He's nude. That's it. You have a very talented cast completely wasted. They managed to waste a fucking All-State guy, which is very funny because, he's actually a pretty good actor. Regina Hall looks like she's fucking phoning it in because she owed, like, Marlon Wayans a blood oath favor. But for the most part, I would give them their props. I think Marlon and Regina, they obviously have chemistry from the past. And I think when they actually have their moments of just like alone time, they actually feel like they're real people, which is actually one of the main problems of the film. It's just that it doesn't feel real. Now, I don't think every comedy needs to feel real, but you have to have some sort of like heart there. And I think they try to do it when they talk, but then they go to some ridiculous shit that just makes it seem completely outlandish and just completely feel like it's just out there in the world. Now, there's some shit in here that just is completely unbelievable. And I'm talking about like right at the beginning of the film, Marlon Wayans playing an English teacher at a prep school. Whoa. And I don't know what it is with this dude's acting, but at the very beginning of the film, this dude's acting is just unmotivated, and it seems like this dude is phoning it in the Colin Farrell and phone booth. And that's a very interesting thing to just kind of say. This dude seems more unbelievable as a teacher than fucking Mark Wahlberg in The Happening. The list can just go on. There's a couple of celebrities in here. Minka Kelly's fine ass pops up. Brian Dirty Neck McKnight shows up. For some reason, Brian McKnight say a thing. I don't know. Nonetheless, but Loretta Devine pops up. Like I said, you got a couple of funny moments here and there, but if you're going to use a Groundhog Day premise, use it with some sort of creativity. I get it, people kind of ripped off Groundhog Day before, but when they rip it off, they kind of have a creative way of doing it. Unfortunately, this movie doesn't really have anything creative really, to say or do or whatever. Something that kind of, obviously does the Groundhog Day premise actually kind of interesting is Edge of Tomorrow. So for people to be like, well, this is kind of like Groundhog Day. One, don't say that at all, because that's an insult. Calling this kind of like a comparison to Groundhog Day is like saying the Ghostbusters reboot is just as good as 1 and 2. Because it's not. It's almost an insult just by even mentioning that shit. So, what does you say about Marlon Wayans? I say this motherfucker is just phoning it in. This dude used to be kind of a top dog with the Wayans brothers, but it's obvious that this dude is not the brains behind the organization. Bringing Keenan or just bringing the whole fucking crew. Right now, looking like Damon is actually the best one kind of doing his shit and a very basic Lethal Weapon for the most part. But overall, like I said, you ain't going to get nothing here. It's just Marlon Wayans' ass in your face for about an hour and 36 minutes. And I get it. Some women might actually enjoy that. But for the most part, you ain't getting nothing here at all. This is not god awful, but it's fucking awful. This is not 50 Shades of Black. But then again, I'm glad a lot of movies are not. Comment, subscribe, and like. I'm Chris Smith, and I'm signing out.